Hello and welcome into tonight's broadcast. Dan Collins alongside broadcast partner Jordan Swick here at Herman Brothers Field, where tonight the Matsu Miners take on the visiting Anchorage Pilots. And before we begin, we will give you the starting lineup for the Pilots. Leading things off, the shortstop Kyle Watson. Second, Deshaun Kersey Jr. Third, the right fielder Joe Gillette. The cleanup man is going to be the catcher Tyler Walters. Batting fifth, the designated hitter Nick Orr. Sixth, the third baseman, Luke Ritter. Seventh, it's the first baseman, Jack Gertzenmeyer. Eighth, the second baseman, Duke Kinnaman. And ninth, and playing left field, it's Dalton Hurd. On the mound for the Miners this evening, Stephen Kolick. He comes in with no record, an ERA of 1.08. He has started 2 games this season. In those games, he's went 4 innings against Chinooks and 4 1/3 against the Oilers. Both victories for the Miners, but he did not go 5, so he didn't earn a decision. 8 strikeouts on the year, 8 hits, and has allowed 2 walks. First pitch to the leadoff man, Watson Jr., or check that, Watson, taken for a strike. That one catches the knees in the strike zone for strike 2. The outfield for the Miners from left to right, Scooter Bynum, Brooks Stotler, Garrison Schwartz. And now the 0-2 from Kolick. Lone in the dirt, ball 1. That's Andy Cosgrove catching. Battery of Kolick Cosgrove. Infield from first to third, Scudder, Jordan, Bissonette, and Armenta. Kolick winds and delivers. Just a little high. Brings the count now to 2-2 on Watson. Mention Kolick looking for his first decision of the season. He winds and unloads. Hit over the head of Jordan, so it's going to be a leadoff single for Watson.
Now batting, center fielder number 24, Deshaun Kersey.
Bring Deshaun Kersey Jr. up to the dish, and the Miners in a little bit of a funk as of late. They have lost 4 of their last 5 ball games. Took a road trip down to Kenai, and for any of you who remember what happened during the last road trip in Kenai, well, that was the season opener. They dropped both games. This time around, dropping 2 out of 3. Kersey Jr. shows bunt but brings it back. It's going to be ball 1. They won the opener, the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday, by a convincing score of 9-0. Jordan Swick on the call for that ball game. And then after that, back-to-back L's, and it got ugly. Yesterday afternoon, Justin Montgomery had a no-hitter through 8 2/3 of work. He faced the minimum. He allowed 2 walks in 8 2/3 of an inning, but then got both runners out via the caught stealing. So that is why he faced the minimum up until Brooks Stotler came up and got a 2-out single past the diving first baseman Seth DeWitt to get the first and only hit of the ball game. Leadoff man Garrison Schwartz was the next man up and ended the ball game. And the Miners went down 1-0. No RBIs in that game. The only run scored via a wild pitch from Jacob Huey. Kolick's going to throw over to first, but back in diving safely is Watson. The last time the Miners won a home game here at Herman Brothers Field, it was back on July 4th, a walk-off victory against the Oilers. It was Kendall Ford and Alaska Club Day at the ballpark. Now Watson's going to go, but that pitch is fouled back. And tonight it is Craig Taylor Equipment night at the park.
No, on that last play, it was a little strange as the runner was off, and Deshaun Kersey Jr., the batter, was just showing bunt, so was trying to move him over, but that kind of, I don't know, I guess defeats the purpose. It's a lot of risk because if he misses that one, Cosgrove could have an opportunity to gun out Watson over at first.
Yeah, if you make that call, you have to have faith that your team can execute accordingly. Not good execution, though, on that go-around. The count's still 1-2 on Kersey Jr. Center fielder for the Anchorage Pilots. Pilots are in a three-way tie for second place with the Bucks and the Oilers. All three of those clubs are one game out of first place behind the Miners, who currently sit with a record of 14-12. So with the Pilots' victory, it would be a tie between the Miners and the Pilots for first place. And we only have 3 games left before the Showcase and All-Star break. There's a home-and-home series after this bout against the Chinooks. The Miners will travel down to Chugiak tomorrow night, and then the Chinooks come down here to Herman Brothers Field the very next day. And then there'll be a day off, and then the Scouts Showcase before, of course, the Home Run Derby and All-Star game. And the 1-2 pitch, Watson goes again, and this is going to be peppered out into left field. Takes a funny hop right in front of Scooter Bynum, but he's going to come up with it. Throw it back out into the infield, but back-to-back singles here to start the ball game off for the Pilots.
Right fielder, number 37, Joe Gillette.
Bring up the right fielder, Joe Gillette, who is batting .267 on the season. He has 8 extra base hits, 5 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, has walked 14 times. But he is tied for second with most strikeouts on the team. He has been fanned 17 times. So a little bit of trouble starting off here early in the top half of the first inning for Stephen Kolick and the Matsu Miners. That one in the dirt, ball 1. Miners going with the white unis. All white, green letters, yellow trim, green high socks. Green hats with a yellow brim. The 1-0 high, 2-0. Oilers have the blue jerseys on, white sleeves, white numbers and letters, blue trim, gray pants. Also have a blue stripe trim there on the side of the pants. Kolick is now going to step off. He's working from the stretch with 2 runners on, that being Watson at second, Kersey Jr. at first. Both single to start off this ball game. From the stretches, Kolick. This one chopped through the hole of short and third. And now Bynum is going to throw it on over to the plate where Watson is trying to score. High throw, and Watson is going to get in underneath the tag and score the first run of the ball game. So back-to-back hits to start things off here. And now it's runners at the corners, 1-0 ball game. Pilots over the Miners early on in the top of the first inning. Going to bring up the cleanup hitter and catcher, Tyler Walters. That was the second earned run of the season, scored against Stephen Kolick out of Texas A&M, his hometown Shepherd, Texas. The 6'3", 210-pounder sets, looks over to third, now delivers. This one popped up in the air, center field. Medium depth, the runner is going to go. Here's a throw to the plate. Kersey Jr. is going to get there standing up. Joe Gillette remaining at first, but the sacrifice fly off the bat of Walters plates the second run of this game. Miners now down 2-0. Joe Gillette with an average lead over at first. Nick Orr, the designated hitter, at the dish. And now Gillette's going to go, and he's going to steal that bag. Ball goes on rolling into center field. And Gillette is going to move on from first to third in that series of events. So the double play now out of order with Gillette going from first to third on the errant throw by Andy Cosgrove. So now the 1-1 from Kolek. Low and in the dirt, ball 2. Kolek having a little trouble here early on. Gave up back-to-back-to-back singles to start things off here. And then a sacrifice fly. We have ourselves a 2-0 ball game early on. The 2-0 pitch. This one grounded to Bissonette at short. Gillette's going to stay at third base. And the throw over to first will retire Orr. That's the second out of this inning. Bring up the man in the hot corner for the Pilots tonight, Luke Ritter. So Kolek retires the last 2 batters that he has faced after giving up the 3 straight singles. That one does catch the outside part of the plate for strike 1. One from Kolek, swing and a miss, strike 2. Cloudy day, night I should rather say, here in Palmer. 63 degrees. If the rain stays away, which let's hope it does, still nice weather. This one chopped over the head of Kolek, getting through the hole, but there's Jordan. He's going to throw it on over to first. Jordan showing off that very nice range over at second base. But the Pilots do score 2 runs off the 3 straight singles by Watson, Kersey Jr., and Gillette to start off this ball game. So now we head to the bottom half of the first inning. It's the Pilots 2 and the Miners coming to bat. Back here at Herman Brothers Field, getting ready for the bottom of the half of the first inning. Pilots putting up a 2 spot in the top half. And before we begin, we'll give you the starting lineup for your Matsu Miners. Leading things off, it's the shortstop, Josh Bissonette. Batting second, the center fielder, Brooks Stotler. Batting third, the second baseman, and batting 300 on the season is Levi Jordan. The cleanup man and designated hitter, Michael Donadio. Batting fifth, it's the right fielder, Garrison Schwartz. Sixth, it's the first baseman, the scud man, Jake Scudder. Seventh, the third baseman, Angelo Armenta. Eighth, the catcher, Andy Cosgrove. And ninth, and playing left field, the Alaskan native, Scooter Bynum. On the bump for the Pilots this evening, it's Kirk Morgan, who has made 3 appearances, all out of the bullpen. In his 6 innings of work this season, has allowed 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. And his record in ERA, nothing but zeros. So here comes Josh Bissonette leading things off. He's had the last few games off. That includes the whole series down in Kenai and the home game, the last home game here at Herman Brothers Field, a loss on Friday evening to the Bucks.
Yeah, and this is the first time that Josh Bissonnette's going to be leading off this season.
And he takes that pitch outside. In the outfield from left to right for the Pilots, it's Hurd, Kersey Jr., and Gillette. The infield, it's Gertzenmeyer at first, Ritter at third. Double play combination of Kinnaman and Watson. Battery of Morgan and Walters. And the count now 1-1 here on Josh Bissonnette. Morgan is a right-handed hurler. And here's delivery. It's slapped toward Watson, Bissonnette's counterpart. He'll come up with it, and over to first he goes for the first out of this inning. Bring up the center fielder, Brooks Statler. I mentioned it in the top half of this inning. The only minor to get a hit in the afternoon game against the Oilers in Kenai against right-handed pitcher Justin Montgomery. He came up with 2 outs in the 9th inning and slapped one right past the glove of Seth DeWitt at first base. Only hit for the Miners in that contest. He sees first pitch strike, showed that bunt, brought it back. It's that Brooks Statler approach. That latest pitch, though, low and in the dirt for ball 1. Swings through that one for strike 2. Statler with somewhat of a close stance at the dish. And he's going to take that one on the outside part of the plate for strike 3. So 2 up, 2 down. So far, the Miners here in the first inning, and that brings up the second baseman, Levi Jordan. This one slapped through the hole. No, it's not. It's knocked down by Kinnaman in between that second base hole, but it's going to be a single for Levi Jordan. Levi Jordan nearly taking that one all the way up the middle and inner center field. Kinnaman had a little something to say about it as he knocked it down with his glove. So a good effort by him. But all he does is stop the ball from rolling into the outfield. And Jordan, now on first base, is going to bring up the designated hitter, Michael Donadio. Donadio takes first pitch outside for ball 1. Miners coming in with a 14-12 record. That's the best in the ABL. 3 teams behind them, Pilots, Bucks, Oilers. In the basement is the Chugiak Eagle River Chinooks. They're the only team now with a losing record, 12-14. That puts them 2 games behind the Miners.
And, it's crazy how just a few days can shake things up just a little bit. The Miners were the only team just 3 days ago with a winning record in the ABL, and now 4 of the 5 teams with a winning record.
That one outside catches part of the plate, though, for a strike. So the count now 3-1 on Donadio. He was taking that 3-0 pitch all the way. Jordan with a slight lead at first, and that one outside. So a 2-out single by Jordan, and now a 2-out walk for Michael Donadio. And it's going to bring up right fielder Garrison Schwartz.
Yeah, it's nice to see the Miners again taking walks early on in the game, too. Last game yesterday in Kenai, which was the game where the team was almost no hit. They only walked twice, and this is a team that kind of relies on their walks. This is how they thrive here in the ABL. Sure, they can get hits, too, but they mainly score their runs based off of earning walks, and it's just finally great to see them earning walks again.
Donadio now leading the team in the walks category with 13. And it is now a 1-1 count on Schwartz. The pitch to him. Slightly hit, foul down the first base area. So now the count 1-2 to Garrison. Garrison comes in batting .272, 1 homer on the year, 9 ribbies. And the 1-2 to him, swung on once again, foul.
Garrison Schwartz has kind of struggled a little bit for his expectations a little bit. He struck out 3 times in yesterday's game, and he was looking to kind of break out of his little mini slump. I wouldn't necessarily call it a full-on slump yet because he isn't doing that bad. What's he hitting, 280?
272 he's coming in tonight. He has a full count on him now with 2 outs, 2 runners on. And this one dribbled over towards second base. But coming up with it and making the play is Kinnaman, so that is going to retire the side. 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 left on base for the Miners here in the bottom of the first inning. We move on to the second. The score, Pilots 2. And now it looks like Garrison Schwartz is actually going to remain on first base. And it looks like we're going to have a little bit of an argument here now from head coach Darren Westergaard, as I don't know what the call is here. Now the umpiring crew is going to convene, have a little meeting there. I don't know what the call could possibly be. Don't know if perhaps they are saying if Gertzenmeyer had his foot off the bag, because the throw most definitely beat him, and they're calling him safe. And so, all right, there we have it. Garrison Schwartz will be safe at first base, and that is going to load him up for first baseman Jake Scudder.
Now batting, your first base number 22, Jake Scudder.
So my apologies, folks, for rambling off the stats there as if this inning was over, because it is far from over. And it looks like that's I'm getting word that that's the call. They're calling it an E3, saying that he juggled the ball. So the Miners will take it. This one lifted into the air and might find the gap. Yes, it does. It's going to score 1. Coming around to score is Donadio to tie this ball game up. He's going to wave. Schwartz around. Here's a throw to the plate. Schwartz around the tag. Safe. A bases clearing double off the bat of first baseman Jake Scudder.
The Miners definitely capitalizing on that error, as Jake Scudder definitely needed that for his confidence, as he now not only tied the game up for the Miners, but the Miners now take a 3-2 lead here.
So how do you like that? Garrison Schwartz, it was supposed to be an ending ground ball to second base, but reaches on the bobble by Gertzenmeyer at first. And Jake Scudder comes up and on the first pitch clears the bases. A bases clearing, 2 out, 3 RBI double for the Scud man. And now the count 2-0 on Angelo Armenta, tonight's third baseman for the Miners. Here's the pitch to Armenta. Lifted, and it looks like it is going to fall right down. Ben Taylor's going to wave him around. Come on, Scudder. Here he comes, and he will score. And it's a 4-2 Miner lead off the RBI single by Angelo Armenta.
That's what I love to see. Earlier on in the season, on those kind of plays, see head coach Ben Taylor holding up the runner over at third base, but he's playing a little bit on the aggressive side as Scudder, not the fastest runner, but he's able to score from second base on a ball hit to shallow left field. So props to head coach Ben Taylor for being a little aggressive, and it pays off for him. The Miners now lead by a score of 4-2.
So now we have ourselves a mound visit, and if you haven't been in recently, stop into the Wasilla store on the Parks Highway, and let us introduce you to the new Craig Taylor. With new management, new systems, and a whole new energy, Craig Taylor has the products and expertise to meet all your equipment needs. Let our knowledgeable staff help you choose the right machine for Alaska and the right machine for you. Craig Taylor Equipment, big enough to serve you, small enough to know you.
The last 5 Miners have reached base after the first 2 batters were retired in the order. So this will be the 8th man to bat of the inning for the Miners. And how about that? You know, the Miners had a little rough start to this ball game. Stephen Kolek giving up, 4 straight hits, something like that. 4 straight have reached base, 3 hits, 1 walk. And at the time, it was a 2-0 lead.
So there goes Armenta. He's trying to steal second. Does he succeed? Yes, he does.
What a slide by Armenta. You know, the throw beat him, but the way that Armenta slid, it was away from the bag, and he was just able to get his front foot into the bag before the tag was applied.
So all this starting with 2 outs in the inning. Bissonette led off with a ground ball to his counterpart, Watson. Stotler struck out looking. And then after that, the wheels coming off for the Pilots. A single to Jordan, a walk to Donadio, a big E3 by Gertzenmeyer. Then a 3 RBI double by Scudder, an RBI single by Armenta to score the Scudman. And here we stand. It's a 4-2 ball game at Herman Brothers Field. Cosgrove still at the plate. He has a 2-1 count on him. And make that 2-2 with the latest pitch that caught the inside part of the plate. So now the Deuces are wild on the scoreboard. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Armenta at second. Morgan sets and delivers. Outside, ball 3.
It was a good eye by Andy Cosgrove on that last pitch. That one started to look like it was going to be a good pitch, but it ended up breaking away from the plate, and it was just a great eye altogether by Cosgrove.
That payoff pitch is fouled back. So Cosgrove staying alive in the count. And they are making Morgan work. And that's a good thing. We mentioned he has made 3 appearances this season, but they're all out of the bullpen. This is his first start for the Pilots. That one now hit into center field. Kersey Jr. is going to make the grab for route number 3, but not before the Miners score 4 unearned runs off Kirk Morgan, responding to that 2 runs that the Pilots put up in the first, and we now head to the second. Miners 4, Pilots 2 on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So is the first baseman, Jack Gertzenmeyer, who made that very vital error in the bottom of the first inning. His E3 allowed 4 unearned runs to score after that. And that's the difference in this ball game. 4 runs to 2. Miners over the Pilots, and Gertzenmeyer's going to ground out 6-3 for scoring at home to begin the second inning.
Now batting, second baseman for 2, Duke Kinnaman.
Strolling up to the plate is the second baseman, Duke Kinnaman. Kolek rocks, delivers, ball 1. And Duke Kinnaman on the season batting 170. He does have 6 extra base hits, 5 doubles, 1 triple. No homers, 6 RBIs. He's walked 10 times, been hit by 5 pitches. That's the most by anybody on this Pilots roster. Struck out 11 times. Swings through that one for strike 2, so the count now 1-2 on the Duke. The sun's starting to break through some of these clouds here in Palmer. The 1-2 pitch swung out and missed, but it gets away from Cosgrove. And we've seen this a few times this season. Runners reaching via the strikeout wild pitch or pass ball. So that is going to hurt.
Now batting left fielder,
And
Dalton Hurd.
after that strikeout swinging, he finds himself on first place. First base does the Duke. So here's Dalton Hurd, the left fielder. He takes first pitch for a strike. Kolek delivers the 0-1. Swing and a miss, strike 2. So Hurd now down in the count 0-2. Stay with it here, Kolek. Don't fall behind. Would really like to see Kolek finally pick up his first decision on the season. He fires away with the 0-2. Slapped right into the glove. No, he drops it. Does Levi Jordan over there at second base. Very hard play for Jordan to make. So now, after that strikeout and drop ball where Kinnaman reached first, Hurd follows up with a single. He's going to bring up the leadoff man, Kyle Watson. He singled and scored back in the first. Watson came into this ball game batting .253. He leads the team in strikeouts, has been fanned 23 times. So 0-1 the count here on the Pilots shortstop. Kinnaman at second, Hurd at first. Kolek would have looked a second and now delivers. Catches the outside part of the plate for strike 1. Count now 1-1 on Watson. Kersey Jr., the center fielder, on deck. Joe Gillette, the right fielder, in the hole. Kolek would have looked over to second, making sure he holds him on, and now delivers. This one hit towards short. 6-4-3 inning-ending double play for the Miners. So the Pilots will leave 2 men on base as we head to the bottom of the second inning. Miners still with the lead, 4-2 over the Pilots on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So Scooter Bynum, the left fielder, leading things off here for the Miners in the bottom of the second inning. They lead the Pilots by a score of 4-2 here at Herman Brothers Field. Bynum is going to swing through that one for strike one. Morgan winds and delivers. Swing and a miss, almost in the same exact location. So now 2 strikes on Scoot. Oh, and 2 count on Bynum. Here's the delivery. Lifts this one in the air, and it's going to be a bloop single for Scooter Bynum. Attaboy, Scoot. Leadoff single, and now a speedy runner aboard. Going to bring up the leadoff man, Josh Bissonette. He grounded out to his counterpart to start off the first inning. Bynum just with an average lead there at first base. And the throw over by Morgan. Don't blame him. Scooter back in, slides in safely. The pitch down to Bissonette. He shows bunt, brings it back, going to be ball 1 on Biss. So, Jordan, here you go. The bunt attempt with a man on first, nobody out. One of the things that we don't necessarily think is the best idea, but it's opted by a lot of managers here in the ABL.
You know, with me, like, I'm kind of torn. It depends where you are at in the batting order, and you have to have a good bunter up there in order to necessarily do that and have a decent batter to advance him later on. But I kind of do like the situation.
Yeah, especially when you have a man like Brooks Stotler in the on deck circling. That's what you get, actually, when you have a guy like Bynum batting 9th who gets on base, then a guy like Bissonette who's good with the bat, can lay down the bunt, and then you have another good hitter like Stotler and Jordan to follow. And something up with that scoreboard as Bissonette strikes out that ball outside and low, but he goes down swinging. So up comes center fielder Brooks Stotler. And now the scoreboard looks like it's partially fixed. It still reads no outs, but there's definitely one as Bissonette just went down. Brooks Stotler at the dish. Another throw over to first. Bynum once again back in safely. Stotler was robbed of a hit during the series with the Oilers. Comes into this ball game with a .241 average. Jordan and I both agree that it should be a little better than that. However, it is not. We were not the official scorers in Kenai against the Oilers. But I tell you, just a bad call. Should have had an infield single. It was a great attempt by the Oilers' second baseman, but tough play to say the least. So it would have nearly been impossible to get Stotler, who bloops this one to center. Kersey Jr. is there, and he makes the diving catch. So down goes Stotler here in the second inning, and they'll bring up the second baseman, Levi Jordan, who is making his second plate appearance in as many innings. Singled and scored the Miners' first run just an inning ago. It was actually Levi Jordan who started that 2-out rally that eventually brought 4 Miners home. And here we are with a 4-2 lead over the Pilots here in the second inning. Throw over to first. Scooter back in diving safely. Morgan throws over again, but Scooter paying much attention. He has yet to take off for second. since reaching first with a leadoff single. And now Morgan with his delivery. And it is the first strike called on Levi Jordan. So a 1-1 count now. Number 1 for the Miners, Levi Jordan. Jordan is going to lift this one in the air right side. Right fielder Joe Gillette is there, makes the grab. So 1 hit, 1 runner left on base. Go the Miners in the second inning. We now head to the third. Miners still up by 2, 4 runs to 2 on the Matsu Miners Radio Network. Here's Deshaun Kiersey Jr. leading things off in the third inning for the Pilots, who trail it by a score of 4-2 against the Miners here. Jr. is going to take first pitch strike. Kolek with his wind and delivery, low and in the dirt, ball 1. Kolek surrendered 1 single last inning, but other than that was just fine. Left that inning unscathed. And swinging a miss by Kiersey Jr. Count now 1-2 on him. Kolek did give up the 2 runs in the first inning, but thanks to the Miners putting up a 4 spot of their own, he currently leads this ball game. Always nice when you can give up a couple runs in the first, but you see that your teammates have your back. Getting the lead right away for their right-handed arm on the mound. That latest pitch from Kolek, low in the dirt from ball 2. So now 2-2 the count on the Pilot center fielder. That one chopped foul. Joe Gillette, who singled back in the first inning, is on deck. Tyler Walters, the catcher, he had a sac fly. He's in the hole. Kolek rocks, and that ball outside runs the count full. So the leadoff man here in the third inning, Kiersey Jr. Kolek says yes to the signs, fires away, chopped right back at him. He's going to take a few steps over toward first before he has an underhand throw over to Jake Scudder to retire Kiersey Jr.
Joe Gillette.
So here comes Joe Gillette walking up to the plate. Mentioned he is 1 for 1 so far in the evening with a single. But Kolek showing signs of settling in after allowing 3 straight hits in the first. This one slapped foul by Gillette. And you hope that Kolek could just get into a rhythm, eat up some innings here. Don't know exactly who is available for the Miners. One thing is for sure, Jordan Floyd, their closer, is going to be available this evening. Perhaps Gage O'Brien, who in his last relief appearance put up a dandy, threw an incredible amount of pitches out of that pen, eating up as many innings as he can for this team, who recently, in terms of the bullpen, have been a little short, especially with new arms coming in, such as Kolek and Deason, and not being able to throw as many pitches here in summer baseball as you would perhaps want them to throw as a fan. Typically some pitch counts on these guys their first couple starts. Deason's first start, his pitch count was at 50. So after 50 pitches, Ben Taylor allowing to take him out of the game, and that means you need to have an arm out of that inning who can eat up a lot of baseball innings for you. As now the walk to Joe Gillette is going to bring up Tyler Walters to the plate with one out here. Kolek with a throw over to first, letting Joe Gillette know right away that he's keeping an eye on him. Joe Gillette with an okay lead. And now Kolek fires away. Outside, ball one. It's 322 down the left field line here at Herman Brothers Field. 390 straight center, 322 down the right field line. 342 in that left center field gap. 345 in right center. This one grounded over to Bissonette, who's going to throw it over to Levi, and they'll get the out at second, but the ball is thrown away at first. Cosgrove there to back up the play, so just the one out, and the inning stays alive for the Pilots here. 2 outs. Up comes the designated hitter, Nick Orr.
Now batting the DH number 23, Nick Orr.
So here's the first pitch to Orr, and it is slapped. If Cosgrove gets to it in time, he'll get in inferior territory, which he does, and throws it down to Scudder to end the inning. So one man left on base here for the Pilots in the third. But other than that, can't get him across, and they still trail it 4-2 as we head to the bottom of the third inning on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So here is the designated hitter, Michael Donadio, leading things off for the Miners. Here in the bottom of the third inning, they do have the lead here at Herman Brothers Field early on, a score of 4-2. They posted a 4 spot behind the Pilots' 2 spot in the first inning. 1-1 the count here now, the designated hitter. Donadio can play the outfield, but typically you find him in that DH role in this Miners lineup. They do have 6 outfielders, so that is one way, of course, of playing 4, is you put one in that DH spot. And strike 2 called to Donadio, so a 2-2 count on the man out of St. John's. Morgan taking no time to deliver, and it's called strike 3 inside on Donadio. Was a close pitch, and Donadio will go down looking to begin the third inning for the Miners. Bring up the right fielder, Garrison Schwartz, and he reached first base on what I would consider the most crucial play of the game so far, an E3 by Gertzenmeyer. It should have been a 4-3 ground out to end the inning. Instead, Schwartz reached base on that error, and then right after that, 4 runs knocked in for the Miners. 4 unearned runs credited to Kirk Morgan. So that error most definitely being the big difference in this game. You can't say any otherwise. And now the 0-2 pitch to Schwartz. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So back-to-back strikeouts for Morgan to start things off here in the third inning.
Now batting your first baseman, number 22, Jake Scudder.
And that brings up Jake Scudder, who, after that E3 with the bases loaded, he cleared them with a double opposite field into that left center field gap. First pitch to him, taken for a ball. And those were RBIs 14, 15, and 16 for Jake Scudder. As he now takes that pitch for a strike. Scudder still yet to take the bat off his shoulders in this AB. 2-1 the count on him. That one outside, 3-1. So he has worked himself into a good hitter's count. Three balls, 1 strike, 2 outs. Here's the pitch to Scudder. Outside, so he draws the 2-out walk. Didn't take the bat off his shoulder once in that at-bat.
Now batting your third baseman, number 4, Angelo Armenta.
Now bring up the third baseman, Angelo Armenta, who singled, stole a base back in the first inning, knocked in the 4th run. That was Jake Scudder, who was out at second base. Knocked him in with a single for his 7th RBI on the year. Takes first pitch, strike. So far this season, Armenta has played second, short, and third base for the Miners. Could play just about anywhere in that infield. I'm sure if you give him a first base glove, he can do an okay job there. And he was talking about on the ride over from Kenai back to Palmer that he could do a little catching himself if need be. But the Miners like using him as their everything in the infield, and that is going to be a ball called. What do you know? We saw that a lot in Kenai. It was about 3 or 4 balks down in Kenai, and here's one we see today. Going to move Jake Scudder into second base, and last time Armenta was at the dish, Scudder was at second base and 2 outs, and he brought him right in. This time around, he's going to slap it to second. Kinnaman comes up with it over to first, and Gertzenmeyer's going to make that play. So down go the Miners here in the third inning. They leave 1 man on base. That's Jake Scudder, who reached on the walk. And to the 4th inning we go. It's the Miners 4, Pilots 2 on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. Second pitch to Luke Ritter here in the top of the fourth inning, taken for a ball. So 1-1 the count now on Ritter. Pilots trail it here at Herman Brothers Field by a score of 4-2. Ritter last time up at the dish. Grounded out to Levi Jordan at second base. And what do you know? He's done celebrating all the weddings. Perhaps the next one is his own. It's media manager Josh Grissom up here in the booth with us. And surprised he's not hung over from all the partying. Is this one chopped over to Angelo Armenta at third base, over to Scudder at first. But you're a good guy, Grissom. You don't get into all that crazy partiness, but I'm sure you enjoyed the two parties.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Really nice weddings.
One was his daddy, Tom Grissom. Congratulations once again to him and Chris Grissom on tying the knot. And I'm sorry, when we were down in Kenai, we just had to say it was your girlfriend's mom who got married. We had to say congratulations to the bride and groom because we did not have any names.
Diane and Matthew Morrison.
So congratulations to Diane and Matthew Morrison for tying the knot. And we are happy to have our media manager back in the booth with us. We are 2-2 without him this season at 500, but technically have a winning record with him whenever he's in. So back up in the booth he is to provide some good analysis for us. In Grissom's absence, we were able to have Connor Higgins and Justin Vernia in the booth with us, and that was definitely a joy. Two kind of different experiences with Higgins and Vernia. And now the 2-1 count. Check that now. 2-2 after that called strike to first baseman Jack Gertzenmeyer. Kolek winds, delivers. This one, a little number out to first. Going to be a hard play for Kolek to make. High throw. Does he get back on the bag? No. Scudder just missing the bag, but quite an effort there by Kolek. And Josh, speaking of Kolek, he gives up 2 runs in the top of the first inning, but it had to feel good when he went back to the dugout for the bottom of the first because the Miners putting up a 4 spot of their own.
Yes, and a lot of that was due to Scudder's 3-run double there to left field, really coming in and making a ruckus early in this ball game. Exactly what the Miners needed on offense, and probably helped Kolek put his mind at ease right now because it's much better when you can go back out there with a lead after giving up 2 runs.
And it looks like the umpires are going to have a little meeting here. I would imagine the only thing that they are talking about is whether or not Scudder was able to get his foot back on the bag. The throw definitely did beat the base runner Gertzenmeyer at first base. They were saying that Scudder was not on the bag in time, and it's going to be pretty hard to overrule things here. And yeah, absolutely, he is called safe. So remaining at first base with 1 out is Jack Gertzenmeyer. And here's the second baseman, Duke Kinnaman. And Josh, you couldn't have said it any better than that. You said that's exactly what the Miners offense needed. And can't agree with you anymore, as we were giving you some notifications via the text messaging and our mobile devices about the game last night against starting pitcher Justin Montgomery. Once again, folks, I hate to remind you, but 8 2/3 innings he went before giving up a 2-out hit in the 9th inning to center fielder Brooks Stotler. Thankfully, we are happy that he broke up that no-hitter. I'm sure it would have been mixed emotions for Jordan Swick, who was on the call. He would have been able to call a no-hitter, but it would have been against his club. So don't necessarily know if he would have wanted that. I'm surely didn't. I was sure happy when Stotler slapped that ball past the glove of a diving Seth DeWitt, who was at first base. And strike here called now on the Duke. He struck out but reached first base via a drop third strike back in the 3rd inning. Kolek from the stretch delivers, fouled off. And Josh, one thing that me and Jordan were talking about after that first inning in which Kolek gave up those 2 runs, it was via 3 straight singles and then a sac fly that brought in those pair of runs. But so far, even though there's been a couple more base runners on the Pats, it looks like he is somewhat showing signs of settling in and not letting those early struggles bother him.
Yeah, and it looks like he's really relying on his defense, too, to back him up. They turned that double play to end the inning. I believe that was last inning as well. And so I feel like he feels a lot more comfortable out there on the mound knowing that his defense has his back. I know we talked to a number of Mat-Su minor pitchers throughout the course of the summer already, and they've referenced their defense and how helpful it's been. So I think he's playing off that a little bit more, not afraid to pitch it where they might hit it, but they'll probably, get some ground balls and some pop flies out of it.
1-2 with one out. Kolik's going to throw over to first. Backsliding in safely is Gertzenmeyer. And every time we do ask a pitcher, whether it be on a pregame profile or just out and about around the clubhouse, they always mention how the defense does back them up. And the pitching has been the storyline all year for the Miners. Probably the biggest reason they're in first place. But you also cannot forget the defense, as this one slapped in between the hole of Bissonette and Armenta. Now puts runners on first and second for the Pilots here with one out in the top of the fourth inning. But when you do have that double play combo of Jordan and Bissonette, of course, did struggle a little bit early on in the season, having a few errors in the first couple of games. But ever since then has settled in nicely. And Armenta has been a great addition for the Miners in the infield because, as I said earlier, he's played second, short, and third base for the Miners. He can play anywhere, and he plays the positions well, no matter where he's at. Then when you got guys like Stotler and Garrison Schwartz out there in the outfield, and whoever you decide to put out there with them, whether it be a Bynum or a Nickens, been doing a fantastic job, as this one grounded foul for the Miners. So 0-1. Kolik says he does not need a new ball. It is Gertzenmeyer at second for the Anchorage Pilots. Kinnaman at first, and Dalton Hurd, the left fielder, at the dish. He singled his first time up in the top of the second inning.
And Dan, I know you're talking about defense and how key it's been for the Miners. Coach Perez had me do a little work for him in figuring out the fielding percentage of the Miners, and the outfield so far, not a single error, and the infield, I believe the team as a whole, the fielding percentage, last I checked, was somewhere in the 97% range, so 0.97.
So we will knock on wood, especially you mentioned the no errors in the outfield, and that doesn't shock me one bit because they've been absolutely spectacular. When you have a guy who could cover a lot of ground in center field like Brooks Stotler and Garrison Schwartz, it doesn't matter where he's at, whether it be left or right, can definitely get the job done. And it looks like this is going to be a double play as Bissonette trapped the ball at short. He didn't catch it on the line drive, threw it over to Jordan to get the out at second, and over to first to Scudder for the double play. So a heads-up play there by Josh Bissonette at shortstop to trap the ball instead of trying to catch it on the line. And that's going to end the inning here. We'll move on down to the bottom of the fourth. It's the Miners 4 and the Pilots 2 on your Mat-Su Miners Radio Network. It's the catcher, Andy Cosgrove, leading things off here in the bottom of the fourth inning for the Miners. They lead it by a score of 4-2 here over the Pilots at Herman Brothers Field. Cosgrove flew out to center field. That's Kersey Jr. out there in his first at-bat in the first inning. He's going to take this first pitch that he sees foul, and what do you know? We were talking about last inning, the good defense by the Miners, and look at how they end the inning. It's a trapped Ball by Bissonette at short, and then 6-4-3 double play. It goes to end the Pilots in the top half of the fourth. And this one slapped to left field by Andy Cosgrove. So he's going to start things off here with a leadoff single. Up comes Scooter Bynum. He singled back in his first at-bat in the second inning. And Josh, a crucial game here because after tonight, it's a home-and-home series with the Chinooks before a much-needed off day. I'm saying that much-needed off day for myself as a broadcaster who needs a little bit of a break and wants to enjoy some of the lake and Alaska weather, but I'm sure the team as well wouldn't mind a break themselves before you go into the Scout Showcase and then the Home Run Derby and All-Star game scheduled for this Sunday. And then, boy, after that, 3 more days off and a lot of games to be played. It's the long haul of the season here. The dog days of summer, perhaps. You'll see it if you're a player here in the ABL like you once were. Check that twice so you know exactly how that long haul and the final days of the summer feel.
Yeah, and you'll definitely start to see a transition here in some of the games. I know we've said before that it's been a pitcher's league so far, but right around the first or second week of July, you'll start to see the offensives come alive, and I think it has to do with seeing the same pitchers over and over again. You start to get a feel for their style and know what they're throwing. And with 5 teams in this league, I mean, you only have 4 opponents. So after a little bit of time, you'll be able to know what the guy's going to be throwing at you. And also another thing to think about is kind of fatigue. I know obviously these guys aren't playing that long. It's only a 2-month season, but there's a lot of games and not very many off days as a whole. So, you know, this is where teams will start to break away in the standings. You'll see the offenses start to come alive and just kind of a little bit of a shift from the defense and pitching-oriented league that we've seen the first month.
As Scooter Bynum tries to bunt, unsuccessful, fouls it back 2-2. The count on him. We'll see what he tries to do now with Andy Cosgrove still at first base. And that's something that we would like to remind the fans, too, in case, you know, it's something that slips your mind. You don't see a couple of these pitchers until, you know, roughly a month and a half of the season goes. And for a lot of these guys, they come from many different conferences, some from JUCO, some play baseball on the West Coast, some play baseball on the East Coast. So this could be the first time ever that they're seeing these guys. It's not like, you know, Madison Nickens and A.J. Lee of the Big Ten and Maryland are going to go back to their respective ball club come the fall, and they're facing pitchers in the Big Ten that they might have seen a couple times through their first years here. And also, being a college baseball player, you will have some games during the weekdays, but a lot of games mostly coming on the weekends, so you're not necessarily playing baseball and grinding it out on a day-by-day basis.
No, and this league essentially mimics kind of the minor league and major league schedule where they're playing just about every single day.
And this one is launched out to right field by Scooter, but a little bit of bad luck there as it's just foul. Couldn't have been fouled by no more than a foot. And you know what, Josh? I guess that's just part of the learning experience for these guys who come up and play in these summer leagues, such as the one here in Alaska, because it is that minor league style type of baseball where you're playing every day, and you also have to put that aluminum bat down and pick up a piece of the lumber. So you're learning how to hit with the wood, and you're learning how to hit and play every day. And when you're facing pitchers for the first time, that's absolutely a challenge.
Yes, it is.
And the payoff pitch now to Bynum, slapped right at short, and he caught it on a line drive. He did not trap that ball. It looked like Cosgrove thought that Watson let that one fall. And now Cosgrove is saying at second. He's saying that Watson trapped that ball. Cosgrove doesn't know what to do. And it looks like that, no, it's not going to be the case. Cosgrove is going to head on back to the dugout. That is a double play. Cosgrove was trying to make a case, saying that that ball was dropped at shortstop, but it wasn't. And I'm definitely going to have to agree with the call there. So double play. And the twin killing is going to bring up Josh Bissonette, the shortstop, to the plate. He's 0 for 2 on the night. And the base is now empty for the Miners. So, Josh, do you feel like you're refueled? We're talking about the long haul here. You've had a couple days off. No, you're battling from the sinuses or whatnot. So thanks for battling it out and being in the broadcast booth with us as this one fouled, should get out of play. it does, but now ready to do a little color yourself and back onto the press release as you go.
Oh yeah, and you know, you said that you've been tired, and we've kind of been tired as well. But these guys are out here playing baseball every single day, so I can only imagine. And this upcoming off day before the Scout Showcase, I'm sure it's going to be great for a number of guys to get some rest, kind of spread the reps around the entire team for the Scouts. And then we have the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, so it'll be good for these guys to kind of take a break and, you know, recharge before heading into the final stretch of the season.
And that's one thing that head coach Ben Taylor always talks about. As a matter of fact, he talked about it with our partner Jordan Swick in the last post-game show. He says, you know, you see these guys, or at least the fans, they come out here and they watch the 9 innings, but they don't catch the early BP. They don't catch the early work. They don't put the extra work they're putting in the cage. It's a lot of hours that goes into playing baseball. I remember about the first week up here, we were pretty shocked at just how much baseball these guys put in before they play the actual game. It could be a game day, and they've already been practicing for 3 or 4 hours before they finally hit the field to play the game.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if you look at just take today for an example, you know, you have a 7 o'clock start time. You can have early work beginning around 1 o'clock for some of these guys, and they'll be here the entire time. So that's 6 hours before the game even begins. Then you're talking about another 2.5 hour game. These guys are literally dedicating, you know, sometimes 10, 12 hours here at the ballpark.
And down goes swinging goes Josh Bissonette here to end things in the 4th inning. So we're done with 4. It's the Miners 4, Pilots 2 here at Herman Brothers Field on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. Top of the order here for the Pilots, Watson, Kersey Jr., and Gillette in the 5th inning. They trail it by a score of 4-2. And if Kolek could get out of this inning, he'll be in line for his first decision. That is, if he doesn't give up 2 runs and it's a tie ball game after 5. If he leaves with the score remaining, he will finally be in line for the W. He wasn't able to do that his first time out, as he won 4 innings, and his second time out won 4 1/3. So this would be the first time of his Miners career that he could possibly put himself in position to pick up a W. The first 2 times, he didn't earn the victory, but they were still wins for the Miners. And now a 2-1 pitch to Watson, going to be lifted in the air. Gerson Schwartz is there in right field. He's going to make the catch and retire Watson for out number 1 in the 5th inning.
Now batting center fielder number 24, Deshaun Piercy.
Dan Collins here on the call. Cole, look at me. I have a little bit of an accent now, do I? I'm on the call alongside Josh Grissom, still our media manager, and Jordan Swick, who's actually the jack of all trades this evening, not only helping out on the side with color, but he has the ever so important job, and actually probably more of a stressful job than is broadcasting. I know, because I could speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for him, but it's a little bit harder when you have to do what Jordan is doing, and that is being the official scorekeeper in this ball game. This one popped up. It's going to be an easy call for Jordan to make. I'm sure he's just going to register that as an F7. So 2 quick outs. And up comes the right fielder, Joe Gillette.
It's you bringing that up. It's not too bad. The thing is, when you have to correct something in the system, that's when things start to be a little iffy. And as long as you don't screw up in the beginning, it should be okay. And I guess that's an obvious thing to say, but I mean it's especially true with this system.
Jordan Swick becoming a pro and scoring in the Point Streak website.
And partner, you were the one who was saying it to me yesterday that if you're going to be a pro at something, you have to first be a rookie.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing. We're also joined alongside once again by media manager Josh Grissom. He must have had some kind of a media relations experience because he's coming in just like as if he already is a pro, putting in a lot of good work here for this Miners organization. A fantastic organization. We mention it all the time here on the broadcast, but I'll tell you what, it was definitely a fun experience. Once again, going to Kenai just because of the way you get treated. Sure, we lose the series 2-3, but General Manager Pete Christopher and his wife Denise Christopher making sure you are as comfortable as possible and surely fed on that long road trip and stay in Kenai. It was only a day and a half we stayed, but it feels like a lot longer than that, especially on the body when you're up there facing the Oilers, and it's one of the hottest press boxes in the booth. There's now some activity there in the Pilots bullpen. Jordan Swick is quickly going to try to man some binoculars and look at some rosters, see who we could tell you that is out there. And would you look at the play by Scooter Bynum out in left field? It is going to be a double by Joe Gillette, but very easily a nice play was made there by Bynum. That turned an easy double into a hard one, as Joe Gillette did beat the throw, but he had to do so via the slide. But regardless, it's a 2-out double for Gillette, and that is going to bring up the catcher and cleanup man, Tyler Walters. He had a sac fly in the first inning and a 6-4 fielder's choice he hit in his last at bat in the third, so he is officially 0 for 1 in the evening. And the cleanup man is going to take first pitch strike.
Dan, it looks like Jack Lebowski is warming up for the Pilots. He's a 6'3" right-handed pitcher out of Duke University, and I believe I've seen him pitch before, and he has a fastball and slider for sure.
Fastball and slider for the 6'3" big Lebowski. And you know what, Josh? That actually brings something up that I've been meaning to ask quite a few of these pitchers, and you being a former pitcher yourself in this exact league, it seems to me every time we ask about what arsenal a pitcher has or what he's seeing against a counterpart, it's always either some good breaking stuff and a good fastball, but it seems like they are all trying to practice, at least quite a few of them, trying to practice that off-speed stuff, that changeup. I'm just guessing, I was never a pitcher myself growing up at any level. Is that like the hardest thing to master, is that off-speed pitch, that changeup? Because it seems like they could throw the breaking stuff, the slider, the fastball, two-seamer, four-seamer, but they're all trying to master the changeup.
Yeah, and it's a tough pitch to throw, but also another thing with these guys, a lot of them were flamethrowers in high school, so they would generally just throw a fastball and then throw a curveball or a slider to catch hitters off guard. It's not something that they practice too much, because why throw a slower pitch when people can't hit what you're throwing hard? Now that they're at this level, D1, and they're really excelling, everybody at this level is excelling. So you have some great hitters as well, and so that's why a changeup is really important.
And a changeup is not needed there for Kolek because, as Josh mentioned, you can't hit what you can't see, and that was exactly the case for Walters as he goes down looking to end things here in the fifth inning. So we're halfway home. The Miners 4, Pilots 2 here on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. A new pitcher here for the Pilots in the bottom of the 5th inning. It is Jack Big Lebowski, the 6'3" right-hander out of Duke University. He comes in. This is only his 3rd appearance on the season, as Brooks Stotler shows that Brooks Stotler special. He has no record, a 1.80 ERA in his 5 innings of work, 1 punch-out, no walks, 4 hits. So not many innings thrown by the Big Lebowski. And Brooks, once again, trying to lay down that bunt. But he have a lot of playing time with the Pilots, mostly at the dish for them. He's a two-way guy. Only 1 hit on the season, though. Check that. 4, as I didn't scroll all the way down to the bottom of the schedule, so my apologies on that one. But he is not manning the bat. He's manning the mound here for the Pilots. That last pitch was swing and fouled back by Brooks Stotler.
Dan, yesterday after the game, he was a guy who showed bunt after 8 2/3 no-hit innings. He showed bunt, and then he was later swinging on and ultimately ended up with a single. After the game, I asked him, hey, were you really thinking bunt there? He was like, heck no. It was just to get in their heads, and you could tell that the corners were coming in after that very first pitch. They didn't want the no-hitter to be broken up by that. And, that kind of played with their minds a little bit, as the only hit of the ball game for the Miners yesterday actually went off the first baseman's glove, Seth DeWitt.
And once again, we're very thankful for that hit. Here comes the second baseman, Levi Jordan, up. He singled and scored back in the 1st inning and then flew out to Kiersey Jr. Check that it was Joe Gillette, the right fielder, back in the 2nd inning. Lebowski delivers. That one's going to be high and outside, though, for ball 2 to Levi Jordan. Michael Donadio, the designated hitter, on deck. Garrison Schwartz, tonight's right fielder for the Miners, in the hole. And this one is going to be taken right back up the middle. So that is Levi's 2nd hit of the game. He came into this one batting .300, and he's going to bump that average up for the time being, as he is now 2 for 3 on the night, and is going to bring up Michael Donadio. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout, but walked and scored back in the 1st inning.
Dan, we haven't gotten the all-star lineups yet, but you have to imagine that Jordan would be one of the Miners who has to be on that roster. His batting average is incredibly high. I know for a period of time he was leading the league in batting average, and if he's not up there right now, he should be in the top 2 or 3 at least.
And coming into this contest, he was actually in the top 3. It's Hunter Vansov of the Chinooks, who's doing a fantastic job. He is batting .348 on the season. Behind him, well, it's another good one, Steven Sensley. And this one ripped in the infield. So back-to-back singles by Jordan and Donadio with 1 out here in the 5th inning to get something cooking. And now it's the right fielder, Garrison Schwartz. But going back to the league leaders, the 2nd leader in average is Steven Sensley. He's also 1 away from tying the league leader, Ethan Whisker, in home runs. And he leads the league in RBIs with 19. And then right behind him, rounding out the top 3, is Levi Jordan. So he has the highest batting average in the league for a second baseman. So perhaps he might even be starting at second base in the All-Star game. We will see. And one thing that it's a little difficult to see, unless you're looking at his fielding percentage in terms of stats, is the way he could field. He has an incredible amount of range at second base, and he fields the balls extremely well out there at second. Like I said, it's a lot easier to look at the batting statistics and pick an all-star, but if you're going also based on defense, then Levi Jordan is an absolute for sure pick. We have a 1-0 count here now on the general, Garrison Schwartz. It is Jordan at second and Nadio at first. They both singled with 1 out here in the 5th inning.
And I have to point out, Dan, Donadio executed a perfect hit and run. Jordan took off immediately, and that caused the shortstop to try and cover second for a potential throwdown. But the Donadio just connected on it right through the hole where the shortstop would be. And now the Miners have runners on first and second with 1 out.
This one chopped and might get through the hole. What a play there at short by Watson. He only had one way to go once he came up with it. So it is going to be a 6-5 fielder's choice. It will move Donadio up 90 feet into second base. And Schwartz into first.
And it looked like that was the only play for the shortstop to make. His weight and his momentum just carrying him towards third base. If he had tried to throw that towards first at all, he would have had a difficult time getting Schwartz. And unfortunately for the Miners, instead of having runners at second and third, they have him only at first and second.
So only one runner in scoring position for the Miners now, that being Michael Donadio at second base here with 2 outs. It's Garrison Schwartz at first. He just grounded into that fielder's choice. 0-1 count on the Scud man. And make that 1-1 now as that pitch low inside and in the dirt. Josh brought up that bases clearing 3 RBI double for Jake Scudder back in the first inning. It sure had to feel good for the Scud man knocking in those 3 runs. Hopefully he can knock in at least one more here in this AB. This one belted to center, but it is right at Kersey Jr. He doesn't have to move much. All he has to really do out there is put the glove up to make the catch, and that's going to retire the Miners here in the bottom of the 5th inning. We are now heading to the 6th at Herman Brothers Field. The Miners still leading the Pilots by 2 runs here on your Matsu Miners radio network. It will be the designated hitter, Nick Orr, leading things off here for the Pilots in the top of the 6th inning. They do trail it by a score of 4-2. Stephen Kolek on for his 6th inning of work. And there is activity up in the Miners bullpen. That is dual threat guy Tyler Wyatt warming up in the pen now. This one slapped, and it's actually trailing over there toward the Miners bullpen, but Garrison Schwartz is going to make the catch and thankfully not run into Wyatt as he was warming up.
Now batting the shortstop, number 12, Luke Ritter.
Bring up the man manning the hot corner for the Pilots tonight, Luke Ritter, who was 0 for 2, 2 groundouts on the evening. And Dr. K's Pediatric Dentistry is a beautiful, brand new state-of-the-art dental office in friendly and convenient Palmer, especially designed for children. Your child's comfort and safety is their top priority. Check them out online at matsumoose.com or call 745-KIDS. That's 745-5437. Count now 2-0 on the third baseman, Luke Ritter. 1 out here in the 6th. Ever since Stephen Kolek gave up those 2 runs in the top of the first inning, he has settled in nicely. Even when a pilot or 2 will get on base, find some kind of a way to get out of the inning. And not many strikeouts. As a matter of fact, only one strikeout. Check that, two. One of them was a drop third strike. The other one, he caught Tyler Walters looking last inning. So the most way he's getting the job done here is by making the Pilots put the ball in play, and a lot of those being ground balls, and a couple double plays, one of them being an ending double play. So not many balls hit in the ear against Kolek.
Dan, you were talking about how Tyler Wyatt was warming up in the pen for the Miners, and he's one of the team's dual threat guys, something we've seen throughout the league this season, even on the other side of the field for the Pilots. Lebowski has taken the field. It's not just a guy on the mound for the team. We know a couple of the Oilers pitchers do that as well. Interesting trend in the ABL this summer. I don't think I've seen it in the 2 years that I played.
And it's funny, as a 6'3" ground out there is going to retire Luke Ritter. It's weird because one name that pops to my mind, and I don't know about you, Josh, but I know Jordan definitely is not going to forget this name, maybe ever, is Logan Stolke from the Bucks, who hit that game-winning home run against us back at Mulcahy Stadium a few games back. He is a guy who is one of the better arms for the Bucks, but doesn't necessarily have the highest average. He was actually batting roughly around 181 when he hit that game-winning home run against the Miners, but they still, at least every time against us, they were putting him in the lineup as a designated hitter almost every game. So even though he's one of their better arms, needing him in the lineup, regardless of that low average, in 3 games in a row, he actually was a designated hitter. In the middle, he pitched, and then came out the very next day as a designated hitter and hit a game-winning home run.
You know, it was weird to see because we saw Stolke pitch the day before, and, you know, when we saw him in the lineup penciled in as the DH for that game, we thought it had to be a mistake. We knew he was a two-way player, but with the way he was hitting, 181 on the season, and, you know, those two-way players, after a start, you don't usually see them back in the lineup, you know, a day after they make that start, because usually fatigue plays a huge factor in that.
Yeah, and for that matter, Stolke was a designated hitter before and after his start. He was early in the lineup. He like sandwiched himself in between his starts, so that was very interesting to see. And one of the things that catches me off guard with what you said, Josh, this is my first season up here broadcasting in the ABL, luckily with the Miners, and you said that it's not necessarily a big trend in the 2 seasons you played. So this is something fairly new, that there are a lot of two-way guys, and I'm wondering if that is just coincidental or almost maybe some type of a strategy that a lot of these managers up here in the ABL are trying to get into.
It could be a little of both, but looking at it from a college coach's perspective, dual guys are kind of a bit of a gamble, and especially if you send them up to a league, you want that league to probably use them in a specific position. You don't really want them, you know, throwing too much on the mound or getting hurt if they're in the field. So I guess it's kind of tough to see college coaches, you know, really endorsing the idea of a dual-way player. But here in this league, we have so many of them that, you know, you're not really surprised by it midway through this summer. So to be honest, I'm not quite sure what it is, but it could definitely be a strategy, especially as we head into the second half of the season. People get tired. You want to see a new pitcher out there on the mound or something.
You wonder if it has to do anything with the doubleheaders that have to be played here in the league. We know that doubleheaders are very tough to play for a team. It's 14 innings. They play 2 7-inning ball games. And, you know, if you're a team like this Miners team was over the weekend, Gage Berland was the only guy available for those 2 games out of the bullpen. He was the only reliever available. And, you know, that's potentially why we see these two-way players up here.
Yeah, and another thing for that also might be the fact that, you know, they can eat up those innings on the mound in those double headers, especially, you know, if you can't find a spot start guy, they could take up a chunk of that and probably do a pretty good job out there on the mound.
And it's funny because, granted, it's a very small sample size. He's 3 for 9 on the season, but Jacob Huey is batting .333 on the season, and that's one of the names that Jordan brings up a lot just in conversation off the air and in between innings. Is he looks like as if he has a pretty solid bat. And especially when the Miners are struggling offensively, you'd be interested to see what he could do, maybe provide a little bit of a boost. But he's so valuable when he's towing the slab for the Miners, especially as a starting pitcher. And you mentioned it, Josh. If he's out there running the bases or something and he gets spiked or injured, you lose a very, very valuable part of your starting rotation. So it's interesting exactly to see how much more offensive time that Jacob Huey's going to get. But then you look at who's warming up in the bullpen now, Tyler Wyatt, and he's done just about everything for the Miners. He's played third base, first base. He's caught many games, and now he seems like he's that spot starter / long reliever. So Tyler Wyatt just doing everything he can, jack of all trades, and wherever you need him to be, you have a man like that, ultimate utility man, and a pitcher out there on the mound for you. So he's a good man to have, and he's currently warming up in the bullpen. Perhaps if things get a little shady here for Kolek with 2 outs, we will see him come in. But so far, so good. Here's the payoff pitch. Chopped foul.
Yeah, Dan, like you said, the good old-fashioned utility man, kind of a lost art in today's age, I would say.
Absolutely. I remember growing up, you would actually see a few all-stars who are utility men, but it seems like that's not the case, and you want one of those guys who could be a true shortstop, a true center fielder, a true second baseman. Sure, during your days in the minors, you might, have different spots in the infield that you play, but at the end of the day, once you come up to the big leagues, even if you're a guy who could play third or play short, it seems like they want to cement you there in the lineup. So kind of just a shame that everyday utility guy is slowly but surely dying in this game of baseball. Is this one, the runner was going, but it's going to be indifferent as ball 4 to second baseman Duke Kinnaman. So there is going to be a runner moving up in scoring position. That's going to be Luke Ritter, who singled with 1 out in this inning, moving up the extra 90 feet to second base. And Dalton Hurd now coming up. Runners on first and second, 2 outs.
It's weird. It's now 95 pitches here by Stephen Kolek. And, you got to think this might be the last batter he faces.
I think this has to be, based on our previous conversations with head coach Ben Taylor and pitching coach Matt Greeley, I think they are very strict on that 100 pitch limit. So, and it looks like Tyler Wyatt, they're speeding up his warming up in the bullpen. So I would expect to see him essentially right away if they were to load the bases here.
It's a 4-2 ball game here at Herman Brothers Field. Miners currently over the Pilots. In the top of the 6th inning, the Pilots with a minor threat here. They have 2 runners on, 2 outs. Stephen Kolek looking to pick up his first victory as a Miner here in summer baseball. He delivers that one low for ball 2. And now Andy Cosgrove is going to want to go on out and have a chat with him, and don't necessarily know if Cosgrove is keeping somewhat of a mental pitch count in his head or if he just knows the way things work here on Ben Taylor's staff. But perhaps maybe telling Kolek that make this one count. It might be your last batter that you see this evening. There's 2 outs. You get him out here, and you could say you went 6 strong.
Guys, with the Scout Showcase and the All-Star break coming up here, Josh, this is a question mainly for you. We were told before the game by one of the players that the Scout Showcase is for the players who were not selected to participate in the All-Star game. Do you know if that is correct or not?
I could see that holding a little bit of weight. I mean, obviously they play 3 games before the All-Star game, so obviously a lot of players are going to see some time. But if you kind of know beforehand, the All-Star game is kind of the culmination of the whole weekend. So coaches will kind of play the players that aren't going to see as much time, especially in the All-Star game. So you might not see a couple pitchers, but that's just because they're going to be throwing on Sunday.
This one is drilled over the glove of Bissonette at short. Bynum's going to get to it and making his way to third base and getting there safely as the ball is now thrown away. Looked like it was going to be toward almost inside the Pilots' dugout. So making his way all the way to third base is Dalton Hurd. It will bring both runners around to score, and we have ourselves a 4-4 ball game now at Herman Brothers Field between the Miners and the Pilots. So things changing rather quickly with that one swing of the bat. So it is going to be a single E7, says the scorekeeper Jordan Swick, and that's the right call. At least if you're asking for my opinion, even though it doesn't matter much here at Herman Brothers Field tonight. And out comes the skip, Ben Taylor, and it's unfortunate as Kolek no longer in line for the W. And coming in is the man we've been talking about for a little bit of time here already. It's Tyler Wyatt, and we're going to have his pitching numbers for you when we come back here after the break on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So it is indeed Tyler Wyatt, the new pitcher here for the Matsu Miners. And the stat line on him, this is his 5th appearance. He has 3 starts on the season. In his 18 and 30 innings of work, he has given up 16 hits, 5 runs, all of which are earned, 7 walks, has punched out 15 batters. Comes in with a record of 2-1 and a 2.46 ERA. Dalton Hurd is the runner on third base. Kolek's still responsible for him, so you could keep the book open on him for now. Wyatt is going to set, and now the 1-1 delivery to the shortstop Watson looks like it's a little too high, so the count now 2-1.
Wyatt not afraid to go with the off speed here early. I know he opened up with the breaking ball, and it looked like that last pitch was off speed as well.
And this one does indeed catch the strike zone. And what do you know? We have the deuces wild on the scoreboard. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Miners and Pilots, it's all knotted up at 4. And a runner at third for the club from Anchorage. And now it's going to be a timeout here as Watson perhaps maybe thought that Wyatt was taking a little bit too much time himself. But Wyatt is now going to set and deliver and swing and a miss, strike 3. Down goes Walton, but not before the Pilots are able to tie this ball game up. So we're going to move on down to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's the first time this game has been knotted up since the very start of this game. Armenta, Cosgrove, Scooter Bynum duo for the Miners here on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. The third baseman, Angelo Armenta, leading things off here for the Miners. In the bottom of the 6th inning, it's a brand new ball game, 4 apiece, and that's almost going to work as if it would have been a bunt attempt, as Armenta with a check swing slap, ball going right back to the Big Lebowski, and it's just going to be a 1-3 ground out if you're scoring at home to start things out here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Bring up the catcher, Andy Cosgrove. He is 1 for 2 on the night. Flew out to center in his first at-bat, but then singled back in the 4th. Here he is this go around in the 6th inning, trying to get something going for the Miners. Dan Collins alongside Josh Grissom, media manager for this last half inning, and Jordan Swick, who, as mentioned, also doing the scorekeeping tonight in this contest. That one gets by the catcher, low in the dirt for a ball. Looks like a little bit of activity once again in the Pilots bullpen. We will notify you as soon as we get a name of who that is down there. No activity currently in the Miners' pen. And Ben Taylor just shouting out from third base to Cosgrove to do a good job with 2 strikes here, and doing a good job as far as putting the bat on the ball goes, but it's just going to be a ground out to second for Andy Cosgrove. So very quickly, 2 up, 2 down here in the bottom of the 6th inning for the Miners.
Fielder number 9, Scooter Bynum.
So it looks like that is going to be Andrew Roliff warming up for the Pilots. It's actually quite a new name for us, and Bynum is going to pop this up, foul territory.
Ooh.
And he could have made the play, but he does not, does Hurd. So Hurd letting that ball drop in foul territory for him, and Scooter Bynum is still going to be alive at the dish.
It's important as a hitter to take advantage of these situations. I guess not just for the hitter, but for the team as well. You'd be surprised at how many runs are generated by those opportunities that teams miss to just get out of the inning.
Well, if you're also talking about what happened in the first inning, it should have been an ending 4-3 ground out, but instead an E3, and that's what started the whole 4-run inning for the Miners. All those runs unearned because the inning should have been over. So the Miners doing the job in the first inning, making a mistake sting. We hope that with 2 outs, once again, they could do it here in the bottom of the 6th. Pretty big implications for this game, because if the Miners fall to the Pilots, and in a first place tie they go with this team from Anchorage. Swing and a miss, and down goes Bynum. It's a 1-2-3 inning for the Big Lebowski. We're done with 2/3 of this ball game. It's the Miners 4 and the Pilots 4 on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So it's Deshaun Kersey Jr. leading things off here in the top of the 7th inning for the Pilots. And Tyler Wyatt's still on the bump. He came in for relief of Stephen Kolek the last inning, striking out the only batter he saw. That was the shortstop Kyle Watson. Got him down via the swing and a miss, so you can officially close the book on Stephen Kolek, who will not earn a decision this evening. Went 5 2/3, gave up 8 hits, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. And the 4 runs kind of put a little bit of a glare on what was a nice solid start from the right-handed arm out of Texas A&M. He did pitch better than what the line is going to show. But regardless, won't get credited for a W or an L, and neither will Pilot starter Kirk Morgan for that matter, who went 4 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, none of which were earned, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So for the time being, it is all up to Tyler Wyatt, who has a 3-1 count on the Pilot center fielder. Here's the pitch to him outside. So the dreaded leadoff walk to Kersey Jr. to start things off here in the top of the 7th inning.
And we've talked to General Manager Pete Christopher before, and that's one of his infamous pet peeves, so to say. He does not like pitchers walking the leadoff man. Results in a run a significant number of times. So it'd be important for Wyatt to shut down the offense here for these next 3 batters, get the Miners back into the dugout with the tie still intact.
And that just goes to show you how much of a baseball man Pete Christopher is, as it looks like they might have him picked off. It's going to be 1-6, and good job by Bissonnette. 1-3-6 on the pickoff there. They had him lean in, got him in the pickle, and he was dead to rights from there. And a great job by shortstop Josh Bissonnette, making sure he was going to chase him as far back to the bag as he can. Even when he applied the brakes, Bissonnette opted to hold on to that ball, puts it in his glove, and applies the tag. So Pete Christopher not a fan of the leadoff walk, but I'm sure he's a fan of the pickoff after it happens. So almost as if that leadoff walk didn't happen, we're going to erase that from our memory now, as it is now Joe Gillette, the right fielder, up with 1 out and an 0-1 count on him. There is the 0-1 right down Broadway. Had a little bit of a curve to it. Nice little breaking ball there from Wyatt. Catches Gillette a little off guard, it seems. And just 0-2 the count on the number 3 man in the Pilot's order. The 0-2. High, ball 1. Cosgrove telling him, good pitch. Let's maybe get it down a little bit, and we'll retire this man.
You know, that was a great pickoff by Wyatt to catch the runner kind of leaning. It was almost as if he was set up for a left-handed pitcher, as in first movement break for second base. Kind of surprised to see that. A little bit of poor running by the Pilots, but excellent job by Wyatt to pick up on that.
Good heads-up baseball by the men in green and yellow. Wyatt kicks, and he's going to fire away. Called strike 3 on Joe Gillette. So he can head on back to the dugout and find a nice warm seat. Up comes the cleanup man, catcher Tyler Walters.
Now batting catcher number 15, Tyler Walters.
Now, Dan, kind of during the break, we were talking about how important it is for the Miners to take home a victory in this game. And if you look at the current standings, I don't think I've ever seen the league be this close, this kind of late into the season already. You have 3 teams, 1 game back behind the Miners, and then the Chinooks in last place, just 2 games out. So really, it's anybody's ball game still.
And that is why just absolutely incredible implications, for that matter, not only on this game, but you could just say probably for every single game now, as we're almost getting into the All-Star break. Every game absolutely going to be huge in terms of the standings. And especially with this quality pitching staff for the Miners, is that one called a strike. Strike 2 now on the cleanup man Walters. But with it being a 5-team league this year, top 4 teams make it. And it just depends how bad you want to be one of those host teams. If you're the number 1 seed, you're going to be hosting for as long as you're in the postseason. So how bad do the Miners want that number 1 seed? We will see. I don't know why any team would not want home field advantage throughout the postseason. It's something definitely worth fighting for. As a 2-2 pitch here, lifted foul.
Dan, I don't think any of the teams would want the Peninsula Oilers in one of the top 2 spots, because that would be a very difficult road trip to take for the playoffs.
Yeah, it was funny. I actually don't know if we were mentioning that exact fact on the broadcast, but I believe me and Jordan were discussing that as well, as that is a long trip to take and some good arms to face for the Oilers. And that one popped up to Levi Jordan at second. That's going to end the inning. So the fans here at Herman Brothers Field are going to stand, they're going to stretch and sing along with a YouTube message of Harry Carey singing the 7th inning stretch. We might stretch ourselves here out in the booth. Regardless, we head to the bottom of the 7th inning here. It's the Miners 4, Pilots 4 on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. Top of the order here for the Matsu Miners in the bottom of the 7th inning. That being Josh Bissonette, Brooks Stotler, and Levi Jordan, the due up here. Relief pitcher Jack Lebowski still towing the slab for the Pilots. He came in for relief of starting pitcher Kirk Morgan back in the 5th inning. Kirk Morgan going 4 innings in his start today. This one drilled over the head of second baseman Duke Kinnaman. So a leadoff single here for Josh Bissonette in the top of the 7th inning.
You know, that's exactly what the Miners needed to begin this inning after they allowed the Pilots to score 2 innings ago, I guess. And, you know, now with Brooks Stotler up to bat, I wouldn't be surprised to see him bunt. He's arguably the best bunter on this team, but I don't think it'll be a sack. I think he'll try to bunt his way on for a hit, too.
And speaking of that, look at third baseman Luke Ritter. He is playing
At least 3 feet in on the grass.
So he is absolutely prepared for Stotler to lay one down. Stotler does. It's toward the first base side, and nobody is there to field it. It is going to be a Brooks Stotler special, the bunt single for Stotler. I tell you, you know, there's something that's very impressive to me in the world of sports, and that is when you know something is coming, but you have no defense for it. Holy cow, that Brooks Stotler special.
We had to know it was coming. He's done it so many times. And, you know, it's just great that this team has, you know, a couple good bunters that you can rely on consistently to get it down.
You could try to bring the infield in, but even when you do, Stotler finds a spot to where you just can't get him in a good bunt here by Levi Jordan. They will get him out at first, but both Bissonette and Stotler move up the extra 90 feet, and they find themselves in scoring position. So an excellent sac bunt there. Getting the job done was Levi Jordan, and that's going to bring up one of the better hitters on this staff, that being designated hitter Michael Donadio. He is 1 for 2 on the evening with a walk. And now it looks like there's going to be a pitching change here. And before we go to break, Craig Taylor wants you to know that everyone knows that nothing runs like a deer, but did you know that Craig Taylor Equipment offers 0% financing for 60 months on John Deere mowers and tractors? We have to make the most of our Alaskan summer, so take advantage of this great offer and let us help you get to work on those lawns, care, landscape, and light agricultural jobs with the new John Deere at the new Craig Taylor Equipment. So we're going to go on break right now and let you know who the new man is on the bump for the Pilots once we come back here on your Matsu Miners Radio Network. So the new pitcher goes by the name of Andrew Roloff here for the Pilots. And what he's done on the season, well, he's made 9 appearances, so this being his 10th. 13 innings of work, 9 hits, 7 runs against him, 6 were earned, 2 walks, has 10 strikeouts. Comes in 0-1 on the season with a 4.15 ERA. Infield in the first pitch on the Donadio, low for ball 1. Hurd also playing in the outfield, out there and left. This is going to be a key run if the Miners could bring him in. That one high to Donadio, 2-0. And it's going to be interesting to see the pitch selection here, especially now with the count 2-0 on Donadio. First base is open. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. That's Josh Bissonette at third, Brooks Stotler at second. So great speed. Donadio turns away from that one. It was inside, but going to be called a strike. So the count now 2-1 on him. Garrison Schwartz out of Grand Canyon University on deck for the Miners. And Roloff with quite a aggressive delivery there. He really whips it up to the dish. 3-1 the count now here at Donadio. Now, Donadio call time. Didn't need much, though. Steps right back in after he was awarded the time. Roloff is now going to set and fires and fouls it back. 3-2 the count now on the Miners' designated hitter. And so far, you could say that, especially at this point in the ballgame, probably one of the more, if not most crucial at bat so far, as the Miners have a chance to put one deep enough in the air and take a lead. Josh Bissonette with plenty of speed over there at third base to mosey on in if the ball is hit deep enough. The payoff to Donadio, that is going to get away from the catcher, but not nearly far enough for Bissonette to even think about heading toward the plate. But regardless, it's going to be ball 4 to Donadio, and that is going to load the bases for the Miners. And, well, I could just steal the words that just came out of Ben Taylor's mouth. He said, "Come on, Schwartzy, there's nowhere to put you." And that is absolutely the case here with the bases loaded. And I imagine, Josh, you still have to take somewhat of a patient approach if you're Garrison Schwartz, because Roloff showing early on that he could be a little wild. So you want to make him show that he could throw a good enough strike before you swing at anything, because another walk here and your team leads the game.
Yeah, it's tough, especially from a player's perspective. You want to do something for your team. You want to put the ball in play. You want to get that run home, but you have to realize that even a walk will score you the go-ahead run.
First pitch catches the outside part of the plate for a strike. The infield playing in at the corners. Gertzenmeyer at first, Ritter at third. The double play combination of Kinnaman and Watson in double play depth. And that one taken good eye there by Schwartz for a ball. A 1-1 count now on the general. Big AB here for Schwartz. It's the Scud man, Jake Scudder, on deck. And a good eye once more. So after falling behind in this count very early on, 0-1, takes 2 straight balls for 2-1. And there you have it, Josh. Somewhat of a patient approach here for Garrison. And that one high, 3-1. So quite the hitter's count for Garrison Schwartz. And there is nowhere to put him.
You can tell that Roloff is getting frustrated with the strike zone, as all the pitches in this at bat have been very close, and they could have went the other way.
Schwartz is going to swing through that one high and away. It would have been ball 4, but instead he draws the count full. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning here at Herman Brothers Field. Game knotted up at 4. Bases loaded with Miners. 1 out. Garrison Schwartz at the plate. And the payoff pitch to Garrison. Lifted, popped up, shallow outfield. That's Kersey Jr. going to make the play on it. Bissonette acted as if he was going to run toward the plate, but doesn't. And now it is 2 outs. Bases loaded, and this is where you make your money if you're an RBI producer. Jake Scudder coming up to the plate.
And if you remember, back in the first inning, he came up in a similar situation with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and he ultimately ended up clearing the bases. It was a basing clearing double for him that gave the Miners a 3-2 lead at the time.
Those are RBIs 14, 15, and 16 for Scudder. He leads the team in that category. And actually now only 3 RBIs behind the league leader, Steven Sensley, who came into tonight with 19 ribbies. Here's the pitch to Scudder. Lifts this one in the air. It looks like it has a chance to bloop. And a great diving catch. And they're going to say he didn't make it. They're going to say that Kersey Jr. on the dive could not come up with that ball. And it's going to bring runners and the corners, and it's also going to bring Darren Westergaard, head coach for the Pilots, out to try to claim his case for this one. But it's going to be a 2 RBI single for Jake Scudder.
Now batting your third baseman, number 4, Angelo Armenta.
Scoring Josh Bissonette and Brooks Stotler. Garrison Schwartz moving from first to third on that one. So a 6-4 ball game here. Jake Scudder with RBI 17 and 18. He is now 1 RBI behind Steven Sensley for the lead. What a game for the Scud man. First pitch taken for a strike. Angelo Armenta now at the dish. Boy, I got to tell you, all of those RBIs for Jake Scudder, the 5 of them coming with 2 outs and the bases loaded. So surely getting the job done for the Miners. He is the player of the game thus far for them.
Yeah, it doesn't get any tougher than that. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and you know, both of the times were in crucial situations in the game. The Miners were down 2-0 at the time in the first when it happened, and it was a tie ball game when this happened. The bloop single for him.
And also, give it up to the umpires. That was a good call. Kiersey Jr. had me fooled. What had happened was he went to go dive to make the catch, and must have came off his glove and hit the ground, because when he went to go show the ball, he showed it barehanded. And it couldn't have been that quick of a transition if he made a clean catch. He had a broadcaster fooled, but he did not have the ump fooled, as now Scudder's going to get caught in a pickle, and he's actually going to get into second base, and Schwartz is going to score. A heads-up base running play there by Jake Scudder. We've seen that before by the Miners. He was taken off for second and put on the brakes, forced Walters to throw it down there, and as soon as he did, Scudder just stood as if he was going to be a dead duck. Breaking toward the plate was Schwartz, and they just didn't know what to do with it. They bobbled the ball there at second base, and Scudder just walked into second, and Schwartz could have crawled into home. So it is now a 7-4 game. Miners over the Pilots, and Scudder takes off again, and there's going to be no throw at third, and it's ball four to Armenta.
Now batting your catcher, number 21, Andy Costco.
So runners on the corners, 2 outs here for the Miners. They lead it 7-4, and Andy Cosgrove, the catcher, at the plate. He's going to check swing, foul that one behind the backstop. 0-1 the count on him. And Jake Scudder, you would not have expected that. You expect him getting the job done in the RBI category, but now 2 stolen bases for him this inning. This one going to be chopped over to first, and up with it, throwing it over to Gertzenmeyer to make the last out is Wolof, but the Miners, primarily off the bat of Jake Scudder. He had 2 RBIs, and then as he was trying to steal, Schwartz came around to score. They put up 3 runs this inning, and now lead it by a score of 7-4 heading into the 8th here on your Matsu Miners radio network. So it is Nick Orr, the designated hitter, leading things off for the Pilots. They trail it by a score of 7-4. And 5 RBIs so far in the night for first baseman Jake Scudder. And if base running could have earned you an RBI, he technically would have 6 if that's the case, because he got himself in a rundown that last inning to score Schwartz and then ended up taking second base anyways because the Pilots infielders just bobbled the ball and dropped the ball, pun intended, on his stolen base attempt. He was basically giving the Pilots an out, but they couldn't come up with the ball cleanly, so he moved into second, and Schwartz moved along home. And that played to the 7th run of the game for the Miners, and that, so far, the score here is 7-4 over the Pilots as swing and a miss, and down goes Orr. And Tyler Wyatt, tip your cap to him as well.
Now batting.
Eating up some innings here for the Miners. He came in back in the 6th with 1 out, or check that, 2 outs. He picked up the 1 out, struck out the first man he saw there in the 6th, being Kyle Watson. So this is going to be the 6th batter that he's facing tonight, Luke Ritter, the 3rd baseman. The 1-0 to him, taken first strike. Closer Jordan Floyd warming up in the Miners bullpen. Here's the pitch to Ritter. Lifted in the air. Schwartz is there, makes the grab, out number 2.
Now batting first baseman number 22, Jack Gerstenmeyer.
First pitch to Jack Gertzenmeyer, taken for a strike. He is 1 for 3 on the evening. Reached on an E1 back in the 4th, singled in the 6th, and grounded out to Bissonette in the 2nd. Dan Collins joined alongside Jordan Swick. Josh Grissom makes his way out of the broadcast booth and into his media room to start typing up the press release here. And if your car needs a new taillight or just any sort of nut bolt or screw, be sure to visit the Valley's locally owned and operated Napa Auto Parts. They're in Big Lake, Palmer, and Wasilla. Visit www.napaalaska.com, and a 5-3 ground out. If you're scoring at home, is going to end the inning here. 3 up, 3 down, go the Pilots. We now head to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Miners leading the Pilots by a score of 7-4 on your Matsu Miners radio network.
for the Miners out of Windermere, Florida, University of South Florida. Number 16, Cam Montgomery.
So it's Cam Montgomery who is going to pinch hit for Scooter Bynum to lead things off here in the 8th inning. Roloff still on the bump for the Pilots. Throws first pitch ball. Seven for the score here at Herman Brothers Field. If you're just joining in, we do welcome you. The Miners putting up a 3 spot that last inning in the 7th. And so far, that's the difference maker. The game was knotted up at 4. But the good guys currently with the lead. This one cranked out into left field, but Hurds there is going to make the grab for out number 1.
Now batting your shortstop,
Going to bring up the leadoff hitter, Josh Bissonette. He singled and scored last inning. It was Bissonette and Stotler who came around to score on Jake Scudder's RBI single. Jake Scudder also had a bases clearing 3 RBI double back in the first inning. So 5 ribbies so far on the night for the first baseman, Jake Scudder.
Yeah, it's definitely a night that Jake Scudder really needed. He's been struggling as of late, and this is definitely a feel-good baseball game for him.
That pitch to Bissonette, taken for a strike. So 1-1 the count now with 1 out on Josh Bissonette. And the pitch to him way outside for ball 2. And the 2-1 pitch from Roloff outside, 3-1. Center fielder Brooks Stotler on deck. And that one is going to get away, so Josh Bissonette is going to mosey along into first base, and rolling up to the dish is the center fielder Brooks Stotler. And Jordan, you were talking about Jake Scudder and how he really needed this one. And we've said before, he has a good track record. Good season. His first season at Kansas State as a junior, transferring from Iowa Western, where he won the NJC AA National Championship. He was awarded Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. He batted a team best .333 last season. That includes 15 doubles, 1 triple, 7 home runs, and 45 RBIs in 57 games. As there goes Bissonette. And Stotler slaps it foul.
Bissonette had a good jump. I'm surprised that Stotler ended up swinging at that one anyways, because I feel like Bissonette would have been into second base without a throw. But perhaps maybe the hit and run would have been on. So in that case, I guess I'm not surprised. But if the hit and run was not on, then it is a little surprising.
So we await the 1-1 with 1 out to Stotler. Roloff keeps nodding his head there on the mound. He agreed maybe 4 or 5 times with that call as he kept nodding yes, yes, yes.
He's got to double check every time just to make sure that him and the catcher are on the right page.
He has a whole lot of movement on that mound. Mentioned he has a very aggressive delivery. He just fires away. He whips his arm toward home plate. Definitely not one of those soft throwers, I'll say that much. He gives it a nice hard toss. And second baseman Levi Jordan on deck, and the DH, Michael Donadio, in the hole. Miners lead by a score of 7-4 here, bottom of the 8th inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out to Stotler. Bissonette at first. And here's the pitch. Swung on, foul back. That one hitting the press box at Herman Brothers Field. And the Miners spend their mornings lifting, running, and staying in shape by visiting the Alaska Club. Visit them in Anchorage, Eagle River, Fairbanks, Juneau, and the Mat-Su Valley, or online at www.thealaskaclub.com. The 2-2, outside 3-2.
It's a good take by Brooks Stotler. It looked like it was going to be a decent pitch, but it was well off the plate. And just a good eye by Brooks Stotler as he's worked it into a full count now.
There goes Bissonette, and it doesn't matter because it's ball 4 to Brooks Stotler. A good take once again, and that equals back-to-back walks here with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning to bring up Levi Jordan.
Baseman number 1,
Levi Jordan's a guy who has reached base a couple times today, both via the base knock. And, you know, he may be looking for another one here. He doesn't want to be done, as if he gets another base hit, that could potentially end up scoring 1. And if it finds the gap, it could score 2.
And now Roloff is going to step off the bump, make sure Bissonette and Stotler make their way back to their respective positions at second and first. Levi Jordan digging into the batter's box, and the pitch to him, he takes for strike 1. We mentioned that there was only one other game in the Alaska Baseball League going on tonight, that being between the Chinooks and the Bucks. And currently, check that, it is one final. Bucks 2-1 over the Chinooks. So that would improve the Bucks record to 13-12. They are currently a half game now behind first place, with this game still in progress, and move the Chinooks to 12-15, and currently 2.5 back now until this game concludes. Bissonette was running, but now he's going to have to hurry on back into second as Kersey Jr. makes the second out. The Chinooks did draw first blood in that game at Mulcahy Stadium. They scored 1 run in the first. Bucks came back with a run of their own in the second, and then a run in the 5th. You could credit an RBI to LJ Hatch and Aaron Aruda. So now that game concludes, we could once again now officially say that Jake Scudder is one RBI behind Sensley for the league lead in the ABL. Sensley with 19, Scudder with 18. How do you like that?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I highly doubt if you would have asked him, hey, do you think you would be challenging Sensley at the end of the game for the league lead in RBIs after today? But he got 5 RBIs today, and he's right on the heels of Steven Sensley from the Bucks.
So an fly out to Kersey Jr. is going to end the Miners' 8th inning. So here we go. We head to the top of the 9th inning. Closer Jordan Floyd coming in to attempt the save. It's a 7-4 ball game here at Herman Brothers Field. We'll be right back with the call on your Mat-Su Miners Radio Network.
Leading off the Pilots' ninth, second baseman, number 2, Duke Kinnaman.
Jordan Floyd on, attempting his 7th save of the season. This is his 13th appearance. He has given up 8 hits, only 1 run, 7 walks, 17 strikeouts, has a 1-1 record, and is a perfect 6 for 6 when it comes to save opportunities. That pitch to Kinnaman taken for a strike, so 1-1 now on the Duke. Floyd's ERA, .64. The Bucks on Friday evening in extra innings plated the only run against Floyd so far this season. They won that ball game by a score of 6-5. So a tough loss taken there by Big Boy Floyd, who has been absolutely phenomenal out of the pen for the Miners. The 2-1 to Kinnaman catches the strike zone for strike 2. That 2-2 inside will run the count full. This one now popped up in the air, and that is Cam Montgomery there in right field to make the grab for out number 1. Cam Montgomery came in pinch hitting for left fielder Scooter Bynum in the 8th.
Now batting, left fielder,
And they're
Dalton Hurd.
made the defensive switch. Schwartz moved over from right to left for Montgomery. Montgomery over from left to right. Strike 1 called. Here to Dalton Hurd, the center fielder. 1 out, 0-1 count. Floyd with the delivery. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Here's the 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So now the Pilots down to their final out, and is going to be Kyle Watson, the shortstop. First pitch, strike 1. And what a game here so far for the Miners. They lead at 7-4. So 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs. Miners with a 7-4 lead over the Pilots. Here's the pitch from Big Boy Floyd, low and in the dirt, ball 2. A win here tonight for the Miners would keep them in sole possession of first place as that one fouled back. So Deuce as well on the scoreboard. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Watson at the dish. Floyd out of Kansas State on the bump delivering. Ball game. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Down goes Watson. And a big W here for the Miners. We came in, and as mentioned, they are losers in 4 out of their last 5 games, so they really needed this one tonight in front of the home crowd. And boy, indeed, did they get it. They stay in sole possession of first place. And Jordan, we said it throughout this broadcast. Boy, you really, really, really have to credit Jake Scudder as not only the player of the game, but the man who really carried his team when they needed some RBI support. He's only one behind the league leader, Steven Sensley, now, as he picked up 5 RBIs in this game. Did a magnificent job.
Yeah, no doubt. Jake Scudder, we mentioned earlier in the game, this is the kind of game he really needed to perhaps boost his confidence a little bit. And, he wouldn't have had that opportunity in the first inning if it wasn't for the error by their first baseman. And, that left the bases loaded. And when Jake Scudder came up, it was a bases clearing double for him. And, he had another bases clearing, or not bases clearing, but he had another opportunity with the bases loaded later in the ball game, which ended up being a bloop single. And, you mentioned it yourself when he was on first base. If he could get another RBI, his 6th RBI, for, getting caught in that rundown kind of to allow the runner from third to score, a lot of these runs were scored because of Jake Scudder.
So there you have it. And you could only imagine who we're going to have up here for the Napa Auto Parts postgame show. I'll be alongside Ben Taylor, and there's actually no surprise, as it's going to be Jordan Swick alongside Jake Scudder when we come back here on your Matsu Miners Radio Network.
Yeah, we just ran a little delayed steal and caught some guys off guard, and it worked out. We had people running around not know what they're doing, so we caught them off guard. It was good.
Absolutely. A couple base hits, a double, single, 5 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. So congratulations on today's game, and good luck as the season continues.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back on your Napa Auto Parts postgame show, where Dan Collins will be with the skipper, Ben Taylor.
Dan Collins alongside Matsu Miners skipper Ben Taylor. 7-4 victory here, Miners over the Pilots. And coach, let's just jump right to it. Jake Scudder comes up twice tonight with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and delivers 5 RBIs for the club. He is now 1 behind the league leader Steven Sensley in RBIs. Sensley with 19, Scudder with 18. So just absolutely great at bats, because not only does he come up twice with the bases loaded, but as mentioned, both times with 2 outs, and goes 2 for 2 with the delivery in that situation.
Yeah, it was big for Scud. He bounced back really big for himself and for us. I mean, he's been scuffling and kind of wearing the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I'm really proud of the way Jake bounced back.
And you talk about not only necessarily scuffling, but he's also one of the guys on the team who you could say is a top in the league and leading the league with those hard outs. So what could something like this, a performance like this tonight, is now the 5 ribbies, and both in clutch, crucial situations where the team really needed it. How much of a confidence booster could that be?
Yeah, that's hard on a hitter, man. I mean, you go out there and you line out night after night after night after night, and then you start to press a little bit. You try and drive the ball over somebody's head. You try and split a gap that's not there. Sometimes it feels like there's 15 guys out there playing defense against you, and that's not always the easiest thing to work your way through. I mean, Jake's an experienced guy, but at the same time, he's a young hitter, and his maturity level to be able to bounce back is really big for all of us, and it sets a really good example for our younger players.
And another familiar storyline with the bullpen picking up their starting pitchers. Kolig not able to get the win tonight, though he did pitch well. Tyler White out of the pen, absolutely phenomenal, and Jordan Floyd once again 7 for 7 in save opportunities. So first we'll go with White and then with Floyd. Just great jobs with the 2 of those guys out of the pen picking up Kolig.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sick. Wyatt did a good job, man. I mean, that kid really competed tonight, and he's thrown some great innings, and he's thrown the ball well for us, and he's performed well. But tonight he really showed a high compete level, and I'm really proud of the way he bounced back and the way he helped our team win the game tonight. It was really big. He came in a big spot. I mean, the winning run at third base, or the go-ahead run at third base, and it's a good job for Wyatt.
Absolutely, and Wyatt ends up fanning him, and that's just the way baseball goes. Kolig not able to get the victory, but still a solid start from him tonight. A little bit of rough patches, but this is just his third go-around with the Miners. What did you see from the arm out of Texas A&M tonight?
Yeah, I mean, he's got unbelievable stuff, and I mean, that's a no-brainer. I think if Coley can go out and throw strike 1 more, I think he probably gets into the 7th inning or 8th inning there. And, he'll make his adjustments. He and Matt will dial some things in. And, he's got potentially dominant stuff. So it's going to be fun to watch him bounce back in his next start.
And speaking of bouncing back, a little bit of a road trip after Kenai dropping 2 out of 3, but the boys come here at home at Harmon Brothers Field, and right away, 7-4 win, get back to their winning ways, and a crucial win because now with the win tonight, they stay in sole possession of first place. So must feel good for that bounce back victory.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, that was a rough road trip. You know, we get shut out back-to-back games. We get one hit the next, in the third game, and it's just we had to win tonight. I mean, that's you hate to say you've got a must-win game. Like, I don't know how many games have we played.
This would be
Game
the
27,
26, yeah.
What are we, 15-12 now?
No, 14-12. That's the updated standings right there.
Okay, I mean, we're 14-12. I mean, it's tough to say you got a must-win game. 26 games into the summer, but tonight, psyche-wise and whatnot, was a must-win, and I'm proud of them that they found a way to really battle and get it done.
Well, they definitely did get the W. So congratulations to you, Coach, on
Thanks,
the 7-4 victory. Dan Collins here. I'll be joined alongside Jordan Swig after this short break. That's head coach and the skipper of the Matsu Miners, Ben Taylor. We'll be right back here shortly for our Parts postgame show. Dan Collins alongside Jordan Swick. 7-4 victory here tonight at Herman Brothers Field. The Miners over the Pilots. And I actually have to apologize, folks. We updated the scoreboard once again, or at least I did, the standings board. 15-12 are the Miners. That puts them a game in first place ahead of the Bucks. They are 13-12. And crazy how the implications go tonight. The Pilots could have moved into a first-place tie had they won this game, but instead they go down to fourth place, 12-14 now their record, and they are fighting it out now once again with the Chinooks for last place. And basically, folks, the storyline here tonight, Jake Scudder, 5 RBIs, both times coming up in crucial situations. He is 2 for 2 with the bases loaded here tonight, and both times with 2 outs, driving in 5 runs. And those 5 runs definitely the difference in the 7-4 victory. And I'm sure he is definitely proud of himself in that post-game interview.
Yeah, he feels good. And he feels like this is a great bounce back win for the team, and not just for his confidence, but for the team's confidence as well. And that is absolutely the case. This is a team that has been struggling. They lost their last 6 out of their last 9 games.
6 of 9.
So it's a little bit of up and down recently for the Miners, but this was definitely a convincing win. Jake Scudder definitely leading the way. And I asked him about when he was on first base trying to get in that rundown. It was a plan. We've seen that earlier in the season, Dan, and I just had to figure out if that's exactly what he was trying to do, maybe try to get that runner home to score. Because if you do remember in that Oilers game here at home, the one with the walk-off win in the 10th inning, the Miners ended up tying that game in the bottom half of the 8th inning
In the same
on a similar
situation.
situation. I think it was Scudder on first base too in that same situation, because teams do not expect Jake Scudder to be stealing a base, and why would they? He doesn't have like speed by any means. He's a guy who will hit for power and will drive the runs home, and he's not a guy to pick up a couple stolen bases, but that's exactly what he did here today.
Being heads up and expecting his teammates on third base to be heads up. And that must be something good to hear from somebody who's obviously a good teammate. He says not only is it a pickup for him, but a pickup for the team who absolutely needed it. So there you have it. The Miners victorious here tonight. And that's going to wrap up the broadcast. 7-4, the final score. So for my broadcast partner, Jordan Swick, our media manager, Josh Grissom, and of course, the special thank you going out to P and Denise Christopher. I'm Dan Collins saying I'll catch you on the flip side here on your Matsu Miners Radio Network.